Hi everyone, I'm very happy to present you the video part of my Capstone project. And in this project, I use the capability learned during the 5-day Gen AI courses to realize my project. And the purpose of this project is to use large language model. Specifically we use Gemini 2.0 flash model to make this LLM act like a robot advisor which analyze financial news and recommend some trade position. For instance, the model can recommend to buy, to sell, or to hold a stock. We will see in the coming minute how to do it. But first of all, to realize this project, we need to use a file. I choose a JSON file where I store all my financial news. And in these cells, we can see here I have a file named article Yahoo 2025 of 10 April. In this date, I web scrape Yahoo Finance to retrieve financial news. And let's see how my file is organized. In my file, when we use the instruction df.info, I have 13 lines, and each line is a financial news. And in column, in the future, I have the title of my article of my financial news. I also have his URL and the content of the article, the body, and its a timestamp. And for more detail, let's show you one example of my article in my JSON file. Here we have an article on Microsoft. The title is here. I don't know if you see. Title is Microsoft the best big data stock to buy according to the analyst. Here's the title. You have the URL of the article. Let's see if this URL works well. I open a new tab browser and copy and paste the URL and click on enter. See here my article, my financial article. This article was wrote by Sam Smith Amin on 9th April 2025. Is the day which I scrape Yahoo Finance to retrieve financial news. This works well, as you can see. Let's go back in our notebook and let's now see the body of the article. Here you have the body, and this is the body of our article. The article, let me summarize the content of the article like his title indicates. If is the Microsoft the best big data stock to buy according to analysts, and the article gives you the evidence why you should buy Microsoft stock, and we can imagine that according to the large language model, here we use Gemini 2.0 Flash model. We will use this model and ask the model to analyze these articles and give us a recommendation. Is based on this article we can buy, sell, or hold Microsoft stock. Yeah, we trade stock, but we can also trade an index. They can be a S&P 500 or CAC 14, FTSE 100. And let's have here in this line the first row of our data set, and outlook of our data set. We have here the title, URL, body, and time steps. Most important. And here I copy and paste the line that we use during our 5-day Gen AI courses. This line of code allow us to set up to install Google Gen AI package, as you see mentioned in comments, and we also need to import some configuration, type, markdown, HTML, display. And here we have to also make some important configuration. Here I pass very fast because it's the configuration part. It's the same thing as we see in our Gen AI course. An important part here, we need to set up your Google API key in order to run Gemini 2.0 Flash model. And here I done a test to be sure that my setup configuration work well, and I have a response that indicates me everything is okay. Now when I have my setup okay, I now get a new data file, a new file. Here the name is file is data, and as you can see we only have 25 rows in this data set. This is different from our original JSON file where we have 30 lines. Why this difference? It's only because in our initial dataset JSON file of financial news, we have some lines, some row where we didn't have body. There was no information in the body part. What I do, I only remove this article where the body was empty. This is the reason that we have 25 entry. And now let's see our first capability that we learned during our courses, our 5-day Gen AI courses. Here I show up few short prompting and structured output. This is the part of the evaluation capability that our project need to use. And in this part I use the few short prompting. As you can see, Here, let me read the prompt. As I mentioned, let me remind you the purpose, the goal of this project is to use LLM, or to make LLM act like a robo advisor that give us some recommendation to sell, hold, or buy stock. And this is the prompt to indicate to our model where to act, the way to act. You have the prompt. You are a financial analyst expert. Here is a financial news article. Your objective is to, first point, generate a clear summary in 3 sentences. Second point, identify the key financial signal in the form of a list. And the last, third point, provide an investment recommendation, buy, sell, or hold. And here I give the way to respond. This is a few short prompting way, or a structure output. And I need a JSON-5 response where I have 3 feature, summary, signals, and recommendation. And in these cells, I analyze, I treat the data JSON files using a loop. You will see my loop here for entry in data for each financial news. I need to have the summary of this news, the signals, and the recommendation. This is the main purpose of these cells. And you can see here, note I was very fast, but here in this part we only check if our code work well, and I print only the article, the financial article. Yeah, you see I print the body of the first 2 article, and this work perfect. As you can see, we have the body of the first article and the body of the second one. And here is in this part where we use Gemini 2.0 Flash model to have a JSON response in which we have summary, signals, and recommendation. And this is the cells that give us this answer. And I show you here an example of this answer. Let me make it a little bit large. And you have here the response. You see we have a JSON file. You see we have our feature summary for the first article. This is the summary. This signal is this is the signal, and we have the recommendation. In this case, we need to hold our stock. This is the response. This is the recommendation given by the model. Let's go ahead. And when we have our model that work perfect, that work very well in the way that the model give recommendation, we can now analyze the entire JSON file. And here I did it and make some cleanup process to have a JSON file where I can store all the results of our LLM work, and I store this result in result.json file. And yeah, this is an example. This is our result JSON file. We have summary, we have signal, we have recommendation, and I don't analyze the entire JSON file because I face a quota reach, so I limit the number of the row to 16. In this way, I only analyze the 16 first article and get the summary, signals, and recommendation fields. This is my response, this is my result. And when I have this result, you have here the length of the response, the length of the result, 16, as I mentioned before. I can now print the recommendation, all the recommendation. As I see here, I have a lot of recommendation where I hold my stock, and some few one where I buy, and only one where I sell. And as you can imagine, in the whole situation is this case, the article is not that related to our stock. Or if you want, the article, the content of the article don't have a huge impact, a huge incidence in our stock or in our portfolio. This is why the LLM, the Gemini 2.0 Flash model, recommend to hold. And let's analyze a case where the LLM recommend to buy. Let's see, it is the case number 6. I print this case here, and let's read together the summary. Grand Terra Energy is an oil and gas exploration and production company operating primarily in Colombia, Canada, and Ecuador. Recent insider buying suggests confidence in the company future amid market uncertainty caused by new tariff imposed by the US. The company operation consists of 80% liquid and 20% gas, totally approximately 47,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day, with reserve value at 3.6 billion. This, as you can see here, the news is positive. Let's see the signals bar. Inside, the buying activity indicated confidence in the company prospect. The company has significant reserve value at 3.6 billion, suggesting growth opportunity. The company operates in multiple geographical regions, diversify its operational risk. And this is why the LLM recommend to buy the stock of Grand Terra Energy. And we see here the explanation of why we should buy the Grand Terra Energy stock. And the explanation, we are okay with this explanation is to buy. Okay, now I show you here the summary, the signals and recommendation of the article where the recommendation was to sell. Let's see it. It's the article number 10. Falling oil price below $60 per barrel, driven by trade war fears and rising supply, are pressuring U.S. oil companies to consider measures like reducing share buybacks and capital expenditures. Many U.S. oil producers face break-even price above $62 a barrel when including dividends and debt services, rising concern about maintaining shareholder returns. Upcoming earnings reports will reveal whether a company will prioritize cash preservation or maintain current spending level amid tighter margins. And let's see the signal now. Oil price falling below 16 per barrel, potential cut to share buyback and capital expenditure by U.S. oil company. Many U.S. oil producer break-even price have above 62 a barrel. High dividend payout can strain company in costly oil fields. Exxon's break-even to cover dividend and buyback is 88 barrel. Chevron is 95 barrel, and the recommendation is sales. I think everybody should be okay with this. This is the first part of my work, of my project, where I show you the capability of large language model. Here in here we use Gemini 2.0 Flash model to analyze financial news and give a recommendation based on the content of this news. The second part of my work was to build an agent that do the same job, the same work of my first part. And again here I install the necessary package and modules as we see in the GenAI course, and this is my setup as I mentioned in the beginning of my speech. And yeah, I build the agents. This is the state of the representing the customer order conversation. I add the history of conversation here. I use the annotated instruction and add a flag to indicating that the order is placed or complete. And we have here the system instruction. We can read together. We are a financial expert. Your holds recommendation. I recommend which stock to buy, hold, or sell. List them based on financial news that we provide. We'll give a JSON format file with the following features, summarizing and recommendation. And this is the welcome message. Welcome to the financial advisor. Type Q2 kit. How may I help you today? This is the initialization part of our agent, and we also add the model Gemini 2.0 Flash model. Yeah, we construct a land graph agent as we see in the course. This is our chatbot function. Here is the initialization of the graph. We add the chatbot function, we define the chatbot node, and we compile the graph. And after compiling, we can display our graph as you say here. Let's start part and chatbot part. and here we add a user message. Hello, what can you do? And we ask the question to the agent, and the agent replied, yeah, okay, I understand. I can analyze financial news and provide stock recommendation buy or sell based on the information provided. This is the answer of the large language model of our agent. You see here, they give us an example. It's pretty good. And the most interesting part here is the part where I add a human in the loop, a human node, you know, in the way we can tap Q, quit, exit, goodbye to end the agent the conversation. This is what mean in these cells. And the most interesting part, and here I'll display again the graph. And the most interesting part is here, where we analyze the financial news. Grand Sierra Energy, and let's see what is the response of the agent. Okay, based on the financial news provided for Grand Sierra, here is my analysis and recommendation broken down for clarity. Positive signal. You say, yeah, the new present general positive outlook of Grand Sierra Energy. Insider buying is a strong signal that those with the most knowledge of company believe its stock is underevaluated or poised for growth. You say here the positive signal, explain the neutral signals, explain also the negative signal is explained also, and the conclusion, the recommendation, the final recommendation. Based on the analysis, yes, my recommendation, buy. And the rationale, here the positive signal outweigh the negative ones. And you say here, very interesting part, because the balance between positive and negative signal, and get a conclusion that the positive outweigh the negative ones. Very interesting part. I do the same thing here for two financial article, and the third part and final part I did the rack and unbaiting. Use ChromaDB vector database. This is the setup of our setup configuration. As we see in the courses, I have some conflict here, but if you have this conflict, please run the cells twice and the conflict will disappear. And also here I have a initialization configuration. I add my API key, and here I display the elevable embedding model, and I define a model that I use is test embedding 004. You see here, and I don't know if you want to go further, you can test an experimental one. Yeah, you see you have two experimental model, and let's see how they work. This is my database, my vector database, name Google Cart DB. This is an example of document. So here I have 16 documents because Remember that I have 16 rows in my JSON file, and I convert all my rows into the test. This is the way I did it. And this is the number of the document, 16. And here is my query: which stock should I sell at the end of the day? I need to put here is buy, is not sales. I did a mistake here. It's buy. And I retrieve the three results. Okay, sorry, here I write in French. Sorry for that, but let me explain. Specify the number of the result that you want. Yeah, we want 3 results. Perform the request on the data on the vector database. You say here we have database dot query and the number of our result we want to see. We extract the result from the document here, and we display the result. And and as I mentioned before, here we want to know which stock we want to buy. And first stock to buy is Amazon. You can see here, this is the part of the document where we have to buy, and buy is related to Amazon stock. And in this other part of the document, we have here to hold the Sinclair Media Company, and the third result is Grand Terra Energy. As we see before, here we buy, and based on this result we can say that our model, embedding model, perform well, even for this case where we have a hold recommendation. But for the remind cases, the model perform very well. And this is the augmented generated part where we have our answer. We give the system prompt. Yeah, we are helpful and important, but the answer question using test from reference included below. Be sure to respond in complete sentence, being comprehensive, including all relevant information. However, you are talking to a non-technical audience, be sure to break down complex concept and strike friendly and conversational tone. If the passage is irrelevant to the answer, you may ignore it. And this is the answer of our model to the question, which stock should I buy? Yes, buy is not sales. We have the passage here, Amazon. The model retrieve, give us reply with three results. You have the first result here, the second and the third one, and finally we use the generate content method to generate an answer to the question, and based on the retrieval of our model, we use the model to answer finally to the user. This is the answer. Okay, so based on the information provided, here is a little insight of a few stock. It looked like the article suggests you may want to consider holding on to Sinclair, but it's recommending that you purchase both Amazon and Grand Terra Energy. However, I am only an AI, I cannot provide financial answer. And this is the good way to finish our project. And you see a disclaimer here, very important. The large language mentioned that it's only an AI and cannot provide financial advice. And be careful when you use the LLM, because as many LLM provider mentioned, they can have a mistake. But we believe all in LLM, we believe all in Gen AI. I think that is a interesting way to solve many human challenge. And we see that large language model is effective in medicine, in supply chain, in education, in robotic, in autonomous vehicle, in research, in a lot of fields. And we are very optimistic in Gemini, in AI. And this is the end of my work, of my project. I hope you enjoy it. This final part is the blog part. I add it here. You can take a view on this part. But I am very happy to realize to do this project, and hope that my work you will find it very interesting. You can go further, we can go beyond what I did here, and feel free to write, to comment, it will a pleasure for me to answer.